Welcome to Portland Film Beat. I'm Dave Pullen, and my guest tonight is Brian Padian. Welcome aboard, Brian.
Hi. Thanks, Dave. Pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from Portland? Move here? Or?
No, I moved here about 10 years ago after spending some time in Los Angeles.
Okay. Are you originally from Los Angeles? Or?
No, I went to film school there, so I've kind of been all over. So I graduated from a school in Northern California called Humboldt State, and then went to LA for a few years, and then came up here.
It was interesting because that's my next question is, where did you train?
Well, I went to a school in Northern California called Humboldt State University, and I got a degree in film, or rather a degree in theater arts with an emphasis on film, because they didn't offer a film degree at that time. And after that, I went to the American Film Institute in Los Angeles.
AFI?
AFI.
What road's that on?
It's on Western.
I've been there.
Yeah, that's right.
I went to a class there with Will Wallace.
Okay.
Nice little place. I love it.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So I went there. I got an MFA in screenwriting, and then spent some time in Los Angeles after that, trying to sell screenplays.
Wow, nice. What first got you interested in film?
I don't know that I can go back to the source originally. I just remember seeing movies with my dad a lot.
Okay.
When I was in my early teens and throughout my adolescence, and always had a good time.
There has to have been a film then that had a major impact on you when you were younger. And that must have kind of propelled you a little bit?
Yeah, oddly, because I don't make these kind of films or really watch them, but Aliens by James Cameron, I just have this memory of seeing with my dad.
Who could forget that?
Yeah,
there's a film that so many dramatic things and exciting new things happened.
Yeah, certainly.
That you couldn't forget it. What is your current project?
My current project is a narrative feature film called The Black Sea.
Right. And you shot that?
I shot that all in Oregon. So
Okay.
it's shot half at the coast in Arch Cape and half in and around Portland.
Okay, and all the actors are from Portland, the crew?
I would say 95% of everybody was Northwest based.
Okay.
We did have one of the lead actors we got from Los Angeles.
All right.
But since production, we had 6 leads. Since production, 2 of them have moved to LA. So by this time, half the cast is Portland-based and half is Los Angeles-based. But when we shot, it was primarily.
Mention some of the Portland actors, if you don't mind.
By the
Aaron,
current ones,
Aaron
McGarry is one. Matt Sipes is another. Joe Von Oppen is one who went to Los Angeles, as did Cora Banesh. Bill Sebastian was the original one from Los Angeles. Right. And also Karina Rep is the last actor.
And I'd like you to also mention the director of photography, because he does a great job. He's done a lot of films.
Absolutely.
Actually, he did one I was in years ago called How the Fire Fell.
A film I love. His name is Scott Ballard.
Right, he does a great job.
He does a great job, and he's...
Did you shoot the film in 16?
We shot it in Super 16, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's kind of unique in that he's an excellent director of photography, but he's very ambitious and also writes and produces and directs his own movies.
Well, we'll talk about you and your stuff. But
no, I know. I'm just saying that informs his ability to shoot.
Exactly, right. So you did shoot it in Super 16.
We shot it in Super 16.
I know it because he does a lot of his stuff with real celluloid still instead of using the digital high definition cameras.
Right.
What are a few things you learned from making The Black Sea?
Wow, that's a great question. I learned some of the things I already knew, but were kind of confirmed by the process, which is make sure that the script is tight, make sure that you cast it correctly, make sure that you have enough money. Make sure.
But if you were shooting with Super 16, that's
well,
pricey
we
right
bumped
there.
up against that. Actually, there were times when we were going through the budget, and I kind of appealed to Scott and said, what, maybe we could shoot this on HD, and he kind of fought to shoot it on Super 16 when I was in my low moments, and he was correct. Like, it was appropriate to the film, but it definitely is a huge cost. That was the biggest cost of the entire budget was purchasing film stock, processing it, transferring it, all that stuff.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What does this film say about the world we live in?
Oh, wow. Well, so the film is about 5 friends who go to a beach house on the Oregon coast for a weekend, and one of them disappears. So that's the central plot, anyway. But I think underneath it all, it has a lot to do with friendships and marriage, and kind of that age in your early 30s where things start to change interpersonally among your friends and stuff.
Okay.
So I think it aspires at least to say something about that, like those changes that kind of happen just naturally around you, around your social set.
Describe briefly the appeal you think your film will have to audiences. And what audience do you think it'll appeal to? What age group? What demographic? Will it appeal to the 25-year-old age group, which I think a lot of them were 30-year-olds, weren't they? In it?
The actors, yeah, in that range. So I mean, I certainly hope that the cast is youngish. They're not teenagers or anything, but they're in their late 20s or early 30s, and so I hope that it'll appeal to that group of people.
We want it to get to a broadest range as possible.
Of course,
of
course you do. But so I don't know. I don't know. I hope there's something in there for everyone, but I'm not sure. Like it's a guessing game. So
yeah. What are your film's strengths?
The strengths of the Black Sea, I think, are very much the acting, and very much the tone and feel of the film. Had a great composer, and Scott's shots are amazing, and on Super 16, it all has a very good, rich feel to it that I'm very happy with.
Mm-hmm. Is there any unique opportunities with the film? I know that's a strange question, but it's a good one.
Do you mean in terms of marketing the film, or what kind of opportunities?
Marketing, helping actors get more and better opportunities in films, helping you get funding for your next film.
Oh, certainly. Okay, so
I mean, that's a big thing, is to get funding for your next film.
Absolutely.
You're probably planning it already, right?
Yeah, I've got a few irons in the fire. Well, I think the film is almost done, so it's not 100% done. We still have to color correct it. So that still kind of awaits to see how it's received. And
I saw the trailer, though, and it looks really
Oh, good. Thank you.
Good. So actually, we're going to show a little clip of the trailer here in a few minutes.
Yeah, my hope is that people respond to it and that it opens some kind of door for the next film.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, why don't we take a break right now and watch the trailer from the Black Sea, and when we come back, we'll talk about it a little bit. It was beautifully shot.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Watching that, I have to ask you, how did you work with the actors?
The actors, so you know, we had one, part of it was complicated because we had an actor in LA, so we didn't get a chance to put everybody together for a long period of time. But what we did, we flew him up before we shot, and we had a table reading at my house and just kind of went through. We went through one time, and you know, there's some, the script starts in a very kind of familiar way, you know, with friends at a beach house, things happen, and then it kind of veers and becomes something else. So there was the opportunity for the actors to say, what the hell does this mean, or you know, interact on that level. And then they left, and then the next day we worked on kind of figuring out the look for each character and any ideas that they might have. Right. And that was essentially it in terms of pre-production. Then when we were in production, the first half of it was shot at the coast. So we would, and it was a lot of night shoots. So we would meet every afternoon around 2 at the house that we were shooting in and kind of just run through the scene. And, you know, I would kind of outline the major beats of it where I thought that it needed to go, and then kind of let them, you know, rehearse it, and then if they had ideas.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah.
You can tell it was, they did a great job in it, so I'm very happy with that. Yeah. How do you work with the cinematographer? Have you known Scott for a while?
I've known Scott for a while.
Have you worked with him on other projects?
I have worked on other short projects. This is my first feature film as a director. But so I found him on Craigslist a few years ago. So I needed a DP. I had shot one small film, and I had
so
a
you
DP.
advertised for a cinematographer?
Yeah, I didn't. I just my training, my background training in film school was all screenwriting. So like, but I knew I always wanted to direct. So when I came up here, I thought I should start directing short films first, prior to jumping in with a feature. So I didn't quite really know how to go about it, so I was just like looking on Craigslist and put a call out for DPs and reels, and I met with Scott, and I really liked him. He's very personable and very knowledgeable.
He's a very personable.
And so we did a short film, and then a couple more short films, and we worked on a PSA together, and so he knew this was cooking for a while, and so we decided that we were going to work on it together. Right. So by the time it actually came to shoot and do pre-production, we had a comfortable working relationship.
When you're on the set with the cinematographer, do you work with him as far as setting up the lighting? Do you let him do a lot of his own stuff and then step in and say, you know, I kind of like to tweak this a little bit? Or do you really plan it out in advance?
Well, this one was kind of unique because a lot of it is set in this one house. So we had some limitations in the ways it could be shot, because we're over in a corner. There's not a lot that I could do. So,
but you do what you got to do with the locations you got.
Of course you do. Of course you do. I'm just saying in terms of working with him.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's okay.
I would kind of let him have free reign, and you know, he knew the shot, and he knew what we're going to do, and if he had a question about a lens or how we were going to frame something, or if he had an idea or something, we'd talk about it.
Okay.
But my strength as a director is not as much in the technical stuff. So
it's more working with the actors, you think?
I think so. The screenplay and the actors and maybe the tones. Okay. So I mean, I can speak to the way a shot should look, but I can't always say, give me a 50mm lens and we'll push it 2 stops in the lab or anything like that. You know?
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That's why I had Ryan Walters on here, because he knows way more than I'll ever know. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know. Let's put it that way. What is your favorite part of filmmaking?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, the early stages when it's still just an idea and it's kind of forming, and you know, I'm writing it and developing it, is really full of a lot of possibilities. I really enjoyed that part of the process. And then post-production, editing and putting it together, I really enjoy once you put music in and sound design, and you start to see
it formulate.
You see it forming and really coming to life. I really like that part of it. Yeah.
Because it is a huge creative process. There's writing it, when you shoot it, then you edit it.
You'll notice I left out production. Yeah, I enjoy the production part, but it's a kind of a different animal than those two. You know, it's a necessary part of it, obviously.
What's your least favorite part then of filmmaking?
Well,
you said you left out production.
Well,
so are we going to talk about production now?
You know, production is fine. It's just it has its unique. It's a more of a physical thing, where the others are less physical. It's more based on the end project, but. So there's some exhaustion involved in, you know, the mechanics of getting people to set, or feeding them, or paying for them, or finding this or finding that. So I don't love all that. I mean, I love it in that it serves the movie, but it doesn't excite me per se. For this project, the thing I liked the least, I think, was doing some of that stuff, working with the Screen Actors Guild for my first film, it was challenging sometimes.
So this was a SAG film?
It was a SAG, yeah, it was
Was it
ultra
low
low
Was it
budget.
low
Yeah.
budget? Okay, so you did pay the actors.
Paid all the SAG actors their rate. We had 3 SAG actors and 3 non-SAG. So
Good for you.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I like to hear projects where the people get paid.
Well, certainly,
I like
yeah.
to hear that there's projects where people are making films, and if you can get backing where you can pay the actors, that's so much better for. I'm really happy about that.
well, yeah, certainly. And then my least favorite part of it, particularly for a feature, it's such a long process. So when you're the director or the
How
writer,
long were you, excuse me? How long were you on the coast in that house?
well, we shot, I think, the entire shoot was 18 days, and I think we did 9 at the coast and the rest in Portland. So we were there for a while.
You had some busy days.
We were there
too.
for a while. But I'm not talking about just about
9.
production. I'm just talking about many months later when the cast and crew have moved on to other projects, and you're still the one left with the movie.
Right.
And there's times when your enthusiasm in it might flag a little bit. That's difficult to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, Michael Caine said that he doesn't like directing or wouldn't want to be a director because a director makes 1 film a year, and at the same time, as an actor, he can make 3 or 4.
Sure.
And it's true.
Sure.
You move on to so. We talked about writing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but as a writer, how do you attack screenwriting? Do you use the Skin the Cat, Blake Snyder's, where you put out the cards and you have everything formatted out in advance, or do you start writing it and go in from there, and once you finish, go back and rewrite it so that you have the punctuation and the wording and everything correct?
Right. So I do kind of a mix of that. Like I don't. Like I went to film school for screenwriting, so I've done those things. I've experimented with different processes to find what works best for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, sometimes an idea will just be like kind of sitting and hovering for quite a while. And when I find a way to start to tell it, I'll usually wait until I can't not write anymore. Now that doesn't mean it's good. It just means that I'll sit down and start seeing where it goes.
Right.
So I don't
Yeah.
outline everything per se. Sometimes I might have to for certain things, or if it's weak here or there. But it's really a process of discovery in the writing, which is not really the most. It's time intensive and it's work intensive because it takes a long time.
I do a lot of writing.
There's a
You're
lot
by
that you
yourself
throw
by
out.
a lot.
Sure.
And it can make you a little weird after you're alone for 2 days writing, and all of a
Sure.
sudden you're like, I gotta go socialize somewhere. With
Well,
somebody.
right. Or then you read back through it and you're like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah, but you know what? I did this thing the other day, and I worked on it, and by the end I was looking at it, I was going, oh, gee, what am I doing? And so then I went to this acting thing and was involved in that for the day, and then I came home and I didn't look at it. I looked at it the next day and go, well, you know what? Actually, it's not that bad.
That's the flip of that.
So putting it down for a day or two, actually, you need to do that sometimes.
Definitely.
Since you like to write and direct, all right, tell me who is your favorite screenplay?
Favorite screenplay, pretty much anything by Billy Wilder, I would think.
Really?
Like
Okay,
something
the
like
older, yeah.
Sunset Boulevard or Double Indemnity or.
Sunset Boulevard is a really great film. A lot
Yeah,
of people
fantastic.
don't watch that. I think actually,
Well, they should.
it wasn't Charlie Chaplin. So there was an older actor in it. He's sitting around the table.
Oh yeah, Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton
Yeah.
was in that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a number of people.
They play the Waxworks, the
yeah,
old.
yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite director?
I have a few. I love David Lynch. I love Terrence Malick. I love Stanley
Okay.
Kubrick. I love.
So you like the ones
I
who are a
love
little
Claire
bit
Denis.
on the edgy side.
I guess, yeah. I like movies with narrative, but I also like I don't mind if things are a little bit off or a little bit strange or.
Keeps us interested.
Yeah. But also Billy Wilder, I would add him
Right.
to that too.
So what is your favorite film? I know that you said Aliens had a big impact on you when you were younger.
It did. I
What
wouldn't.
is your favorite film?
My favorite film, it rotates. Sometimes there's years where I'll just be fixated on one movie. But, so overall, I would probably say something boring like The Godfather or Godfather 2. Something that I return to over and over again. I'm sure everyone says
Right.
things like that. But there's also movies that I love at different phases of my life, like really intensely. And
Now, there's some movies you can watch. You see them, you're getting ready to go somewhere, and getting ready to turn the TV off, and the film's coming on. You're like,
yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna
Sure.
be here for a few minutes watching
Sure.
the intro of this.
The movie I've seen probably more times than any other in my life is A Christmas Story, which isn't like known as a cinema kind of film.
It's a great film.
But it's a great film, yeah.
I love that film.
Yeah, it's
I used to
great.
watch it. Actually, my wife doesn't watch. We probably watch it every year just because it comes on TV. But we own It's a Wonderful Life because my wife watches It's a Wonderful Life
Yeah.
every year.
That's great too.
We talked about directors, but I didn't ask you this question. If you could be the assistant director for an A-list director, who would it be? It can be one from years ago too.
Do you mean like an AD or the assistant to the director?
Let's.
I would say.
If you could work with
probably-
a director, let's put it that way.
I would probably say someone like Stanley Kubrick or Ingmar Bergman or something.
Okay,
like that,
right.
Just to,
Yeah, a lot of people
or
don't
Terrence Malick, just to.
Ingmar Bergman. I mean, well, actually, you know that one film he made was on the beach, and I can't think of the name of it. So.
Well, there's a.
Did that inspire you for the
there's-
Black Sea at all?
Well, there actually one of them he did was called Persona, which is about
That's-
two women who go to the coastal
I've
part
seen
of
it. Yeah,
Sweden, and
it's sweet. Yeah, that's what made me think of. It must have been.
It is.
I didn't even
yeah.
put two and two together until you said that. But the Black Sea in that film.
Yeah,
And,
that is one of the more key influences of it, at least narratively. Like,
Okay, all right. What kind of inspiration have you drawn from these films in general? So we just answered that question. Actually, Ingmar Bergman's film really helped you with the Black Sea.
It did. I mean, like I don't know if you'd see the Black Sea and be like, oh, I see it. So sometimes it's more behind the scenes, or sometimes it's more of a tonal thing or a feeling. I don't know if you'd sit down and be like, oh, that came from Bergman or something.
Right. You've written and directed, and what A-list actor and actress would you like to work with?
That's a good
Actor
question.
and actress. You got there's.
All right, take them as a pair.
Well, you could use them as a pair if you want, but if it's individually, I'd like to know the name of an actor and then an actress that you'd like to work with, or be the director for.
I'm blanking suddenly on A-list people. Can we come back to that one?
We can.
I'll let that.
Why
I'll
don't we
let
do that?
marinate.
What do you consider the elements of a good film, and what do you consider the elements of a great film?
Oh, that's a good question. A good film, I think it's a minor miracle, as you know, that a film even gets made. Like there's so many variables at play, from the money and the casting and just the production, and so to have it get shot and finally be done, just through the production phase and then edited and everything like that.
And then the
That is
score
amazing
made,
thing, and all that stuff. That's
because the
amazing.
score can take longer than the editing.
So, but a lot of movies are made and are bad, So I think for it to be good, you have to have some of those. Something has to be clicking in the between the screenplay and the actors, and the music and the editing.
Okay.
But it's hard to point to one thing and say what it is. Like for it to be great, it's some other thing that I think you can't really ordain as a writer or director. You assemble all these elements, and after a certain point, you can't control it.
Right.
Whether if it's good, or probably if it's bad too. It just starts to get away from you.
Can we get back to the actor and actress now?
Yes.
What's a good A-list actor?
I
and A-list
loved
actress?
Sandra Bullock in Gravity, and I hear that she's an excellent human being, which I also like. In terms of actors, I hate to be boring, but someone like George Clooney, I think, would be really interesting to.
No, he's really
see.
come into his own from his TV years.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Where do you hope to see yourself in 10 years?
Well, in 10 years, I hope that I have a few more films under my belt, and hopefully enough of a career to quit my day job and pursue it full time. Yeah.
So your film makes enough money to support and help make the next film.
That would be wonderful.
Wouldn't it though?
That would be wonderful.
Right,
Like,
okay.
I would hope that the movies can be made for a little bit more money. Like we made Black Sea for, peanuts, and as I said, like primarily the budget went to paying for film stock. We paid
Yeah, that was
cast
the
and
same.
crew
That was the
a
same
pittance,
with How
but-
a Fire Fell.
Right.
Film stock, huh?
Right. So I would hope just, having money for production is one of those things that when you're starting out, you're like, oh, I don't need that, I don't need that, and then certain things you really do need. So I would hope that the future films can have a little bit more money behind them. Nothing crazy, just a little bit more.
No, that'd be nice. Any advice that you'd like to give to anyone who's out there trying to get their own film made?
Sure. I mean, to echo something I said before, one of the hardest parts for me was it's a long game doing a feature and carrying it all the way through. And there are times when your enthusiasm may flag, and you just have to stay with it, You know, because there's times when I wanted to walk away from this, and I couldn't. I mean, I wouldn't really walk away from it, but it's just like it's hard enough to drum up all this enthusiasm in production, and then afterwards and all that stuff. So
It's a lot more enthusiasm.
So I would say you just keep your eye on the long game. You know, there's different phases. There's the writing and then the shooting and all this stuff, but just always keep an eye on that.
Great. What's next for you, Brian?
Well, it kind of depends what happens with the Black Sea, but I have a few different scripts. Most have been written for many years from film school, and have just kind of been sitting.
Expanding on them, improving them?
Yeah, so I've been tinkering around with some of those, and I like to think that they're aging like a fine wine, but maybe they've turned to vinegar, I don't know.
Well, let's hope not. Anyway, we're kind of running out of time here. I want to thank everybody for showing up and listen to Brian talk about his film, The Black Sea. I'm pretty sure Ellery posted a bunch of information about how you can contact Brian if you'd like to get a hold of him and help support him in making maybe his next film or be involved with that. He would love the help, I'm sure.
I would.
He would. At this time, I'd also like to thank my director, Ellery Nelson. He does a great job in the studio. There's a gentleman here at Works at TVC TV named Christo who he really does a lot to help me set this up and get everything going. In addition to the fact that my producer, my wife, Carol, is always here and always helps me. And this Mother's Day is going to be a great Mother's Day because we're going to plant our garden. We do romantic things together all the time like that.
That's beautiful.
And anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, shoot for the silver screen.